All right, what's going down, y'all?
What's up, man?
Just chilling.
You're looking shredded.
Yeah, getting shredded again.
Yeah. So this morning, this will be way too much information.
Oh, yes.
But jumped on the scale. Yesterday was 170.8.
Mm-hmm.
Today, 171.6.
Mm-hmm.
Not upset, just okay, that's interesting. This was after my first dump.
Yes.
Weighed myself, took a picture, started walking to get ready to go to the gym. Like, oh, nope. I gotta run back.
Mm-hmm.
This is too much. Second wave hit. It was alarming.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? That was a lot.
Yeah.
Jump back on the scale, 170.4.
You had a lot of poop in you, bro.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Wow.
We're recording now. Yeah. But we're not going live today. Yeah.
I was talking to some people at the seminar, and then also just online more recently with people that have lost large amounts of weight, and then people that are trying to lose large amounts of weight. And this kind of same topic keeps coming up. People are asking about like keto snacks and, what to do with, can I have keto snacks? Can I make these fat bombs? Can I have, something like a perfect keto bar? Should I, be counting my calories and all these different things? And my thought process on the whole thing is, take something like a Piedmontese steak, which first of all is super lean. So that helps a ton, because then you're still not getting you're not getting an overabundance of energy, but still tastes really good. It's just, I think just go for it. I think figure out a way, because like you can't go, not that you can't do it, but it's very difficult to go from being 100 pounds heavier to 100 pounds less without the ultimate realization of I'm just going to have to eat less food and I'm going to have to feel hungry. And you want to try to mitigate that the best that you can. And the way that you can neutralize that, your secret weapon can be protein.
Yeah.
And when you start to eat, steaks like from certified Piedmontese, or you start to have eggs, you start to mix in other foods that are high in protein, and that becomes very satiating. I had a whole packet of Piedmontese sliders the other day. I was like, I'm just going to have like 4 or something, because I knew I was going to eat a little bit later in the day too. And I just ate the whole thing, which it's like 1.5 pounds or something like that.
Turning into Sean Baker.
It was so damn good.
Yeah.
But what happened was, I had that at like maybe 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't eat again until I think it was like 6. I was, totally satiated, and I went to go eat with my son, and I just didn't eat anything when he and I went to eat. He's like, "You're not going to get anything?" I was like, "No, I'm fine. I'm good." And we saw a movie, and then, I didn't get to eat again until afterwards. But that high protein, it works. It really does work. It helps a lot.
Yeah. What's the deal with the sliders though? Why do they taste so amazing?
I don't know. I think they're putting some extra flavor in there.
I think so too. Yeah.
They're delicious.
Yeah. So if you guys are catching this in the month of December of 2019, they're actually giving everybody 25% off. You don't have to use any special codes.
Everybody?
Everybody. Yeah. But if you guys want to support the show, make sure you hit the link in our show notes or the YouTube description. Just head over to Piedmontese.com. That's Piedmontese.com. But if you're listening to this after the new year, use promo code Power Project for 25% off your order. And if your order is $99 or more, you get free shipping.
Yeah.
Natty Professor, you work with a lot of clients.
Yeah.
What do you? How do you help talk someone off the ledge if they, want to have a lot of snacks and stuff? Do you kind of like just say, "Hey, man, like let it pass, like just eat up for a little while"? Like what do you usually do with people?
I usually have them get all their shit snacks out of the house.
Yeah.
And then substitute it with something else. So like either Quest bars or something within that realm that can still taste pretty damn good. But again, they have to get everything out of the house because it's too easy to go down to your pantry and just go to town. I do the same thing.
Yeah. Quest cookies, Quest bars, Quest potato chips, those kinds of things. Like those are things that can replace your former like bad behavior. And if you think about it, like with other behaviors that you may have picked up over the last couple years, maybe you've gotten in a habit of reading more books, and maybe in the past, like reading one book a year was hard, and now you're getting through a book a month. Things that used to be hard and difficult will get easier and easier the more that you practice them. but you normally have to replace a bad habit with something different. And in this case, your worst day might look like somebody else's best day, because on your worst day, the worst thing that you might eat might be like a keto snack, might be like a Quest pizza or a Quest cookie, something like that. They are processed. These are processed foods, but they're here to help save us and to give us to help with our food cravings, but in a cleaner way.
Yeah, and you're gonna quote cheat clean. You're not gonna have any guilt. You're gonna have an awesome quote dessert and not feel terrible about it. So you guys need to head over to questnutrition.com at checkout, enter promo code MarksQuest for 20% off your entire order.
And I've been on my own quest for like basically the last 10 years of losing 100 pounds. And people ask me often, they're like, how long did it take? And they're, the people that we're talking to today, like it didn't take them long to shed off an enormous amount of weight. But for me, the journey and the whole process was a 10-year process because of how many different things I had to stop doing. And then when you bring in things like perfect keto bars, or when you utilize their whey protein or utilize the MCT powder in coffee, it makes the whole process a lot easier rather than like it's just all this huge switch out of nowhere. Okay, all right, Fat Mark, you're going to weigh 330 and now we're going to get you down to 230, and you have to start you got to start implementing these 17 things in your life right now. And it's like, no, I didn't do it that way. It was all, small steps, and things like perfect keto bars and those kind of snacks have helped me. And I know they're helping a lot of other people. I've used a lot of different techniques and things and tricks over the years, but having something in your coffee, having a little bit of fat in your coffee is something that has helped me tremendously. I used it throughout the entire process, whether it was putting butter in coffee or MCT oil. We didn't have perfect keto when I first started a lot of the stuff, but I wish that we did, because it does make the process easier. And I know it will help make the process easier for a lot of other people out there.
Yeah. And it gives you something, especially the MCTs in the coffee, it gives you something to have other than drinking coffee and water all day if you're fasting. It makes it so much easier. So
something to look forward to.
Yeah, I know. I've been using still using the vanilla MCT oil powder when I'm fasting all day long. It's not all day long, but it seems like it sometimes. Getting a little thin on that. But yeah, and we're actually they're offering. What's up? I thought you were going to say something. They're actually offering Power Project listeners a different promo code these days. So you guys need to head over to perfectketo.com/powerproject at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10, which will give you $10 off any order of $40 or more. So before it was about 15% off, this is about 25% off.
Oh.
So a little bit more incentive to kind of get things going.
I'm actually going to grab some of those MCTs.
Oh, that's what it is. I'm like, what's going on?
They got krill oil, which is basically like omega-3s. They have electrolyte capsules, which I think are really beneficial for a lot of people that are on a carnivorous diet or on a keto diet, because they tend to cramp up a bunch. And Nsima's mixing up some powder right now. We got them all hyped up about it.
Yeah.
The nootropic powder is really good. They have a lot of options. Just go on the site. Mm-hmm. Just go check it out for yourself, and you'll see they got a lot of great options on there.
Yeah. So who do we got on today, Mark?
We have some people on the show today that have lost, I think, a combined like around 200 something pounds.
250.
Shit, 250 pounds. That's a couple extra people's worth, right?
Yeah.
These are people that pop up in my feed sometimes, because of the hashtag War on Carbs. That's a hashtag that I follow, and then I end up seeing a lot of our fans and a lot of the people that have been affected by us or by Paul Saladino or by Dr. Sean Baker, or just by someone like a Ken Berry. They've been affected by this kind of like a low carb community. And what's cool is everyone's trying to help each other out. So these people, they posted up a family photo, and I'm just continuously getting responses from people saying, you don't know what it's like, man, because I'm from an Italian family, or you don't know what it's like because we're Hispanic, bro, and like we cook up a lot of fajitas or whatever the hell it is that their excuse is, right?
Yeah.
And then other people are saying, I got a family to feed, I got 3 or 4 kids, like I can't go out and buy a fillet all the time and this and that. And so I saw this picture of these two people that were young. I'm not sure how to say the last name. Spath, I guess is the last name.
Yeah.
Laura and Chris Spath. I saw Laura post a picture, and I was just really, really taken back by it. It was a family photo, and it was a before and after. And the after picture, the guy still looks like the guy. Like he lost a lot of weight. He had a tremendous transformation. But man, the woman, she made just a miraculous transformation. And I think also too, because there's just a lot more that plays into it. I don't want to infer anything, but I think that possibly when she was heavier, maybe she didn't feel as good about herself. So she wasn't as quote unquote dolled up. And in picture number 2, it's quite obvious that not only does she look a lot better, but she probably also feels that she looks better, which that's huge, right? How you feel inward is huge. So when I saw that, it really shocked me, and I was like, wow, this is some crazy transformation. So then I wrote on their post and said, this is amazing. Like, you guys, that's fantastic. And these are people that are doing it with a family. These are people that I don't know. Like, they're not in the fitness industry. They're not blessed like some people to not have a job and to make things miraculously work like some people make it appear, right? But these are two hardworking people that have children that are figuring out a way to make it work in their lifestyle or making it work with whatever their budget is. So I'm super pumped to talk to them today, because I think you guys, the listeners, I think you have a lot more to say than you think. And as funny as it is coming from us to tell you this, you guys have more important shit to say than we do, because it's a weird thing to say, but we're already coming out the other end, We're already we traveled up the hill for a long time, and we got up there. Not like we're great or anything like that, but we have worked very hard to get to certain spots and certain positions, and so we kind of sometimes forget about those little steps along the way. And Nsima's never had to work for anything in his life, so he doesn't know anything about hard work or dedication. He just came out the womb jacked and tan and ready to go.
Yeah.
And so you're going to just not want to listen to basically anything that he says. But for some people like Andrew and I, we've had to work for it. Here they are.
Hey.
What's going on, guys? Hopefully they can hear us.
Here, wait, let's see.
Yep.
Can you guys hear us?
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Yep, we
Cool.
can hear
Let me
you.
fix the microphone here. 1 second. Sorry.
Sure thing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, cool. I think we can hear you now.
Awesome. Really excited to dive into some of this for today. So just knowing a little bit of your history and understanding, where your nutrition used to be, and then understanding that you guys got into some keto style dieting, and then now you're on a more carnivorous diet. I think the first thing to kind of get to is, how were you guys able to, and if you still have, how were you able to stop some of the bad habits and bad behaviors of your previous nutrition? Because I think you guys lost a combined weight of 250 pounds or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to break those habits, and I think we still deal with that some. And the fact that we're doing it together is maybe what makes it a little more possible for us to stay strict. We definitely don't have cheat days anymore, and I think realizing that we can't have even a cheat day is almost what made it easier.
Okay, let's hone in on that for a second. What's the reason for that? Because for some people listening, they're like, that doesn't even sound logical. How am I going to go without a cheat day?
I think that we realized that it's almost like a drug, and we're addicted, and an alcoholic can't have a drink on the weekend or even a drink once a month. They need to abstain completely. So
if we were to eat, we're not the type of people that could have pizza and ice cream on a Friday night and then wake up Saturday and go to the gym and get back on track again. I'm going to wait until Monday, and then I'm going to keep eating bad again until some other reason that I'm going to start. So we just knew that it sounds so restrictive to never have any cheat days ever, but it almost makes it does make it exponentially easier.
Would you say that you have like a quote unquote cheat day nowadays because maybe you go and create like a keto meal, or you do something a little different that you saw a recipe for, and it's maybe not exactly just steak and water. It's like maybe some variation of that.
I think a cheat for us nowadays is cheese, maybe, because we can't even do keto treats. I think we both feel pretty disgusting after that, or it really affects us mentally. It doesn't satisfy my sugar craving, and it makes me feel bad. So we don't do any kind of keto treats, but we, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, we've been eating a lot of cheese, and maybe having an extra, snack in the evenings. We'll eat some pork rinds or some cheese and some summer sausage or something like that. But we do keep it carnivore, but maybe that's our carnivore cheat where we wouldn't do that normally. How
long did it take you to end up in this spot? Because again, there's going to be people listening that are just like, man, they're not attracted to that because it just seems so hard. Did it take months and weeks or even a year or two?
I think just to go back to my situation, I had type 2 diabetes and was really a mess physically. And then I wound up getting necrotizing fasciitis, which is flesh-eating disease. And I almost died in the hospital. This was 3 years ago, Christmas Day, actually. And that, it took a little while after that, but really coming to the realization that I have children, this is my livelihood, and it's not something that I can play with. And so I just went down the rabbit hole of research and all that. And then once I found, what works out there in the world and how it can apply to me, it was easy. And then it was results. And then it's getting addicted to the results. As a team, we're doing it together. We're almost trying to compete with each other on how much we lost this week or how well we're doing. And then we found this whole community and podcasts, and it just became this whole sync that wound up with our health, and vitality at the end of it. And, maintaining for so long now, it's just been realizing those non-scale victories, even, being able to get on an airplane without feeling uncomfortable, or wrapping a towel around yourself, things like that, that you think back to the way it was and you just don't ever want to go there again. I look down at the scar on my arm and I'm not going to pick up that cupcake.
What actually causes necrotizing fasciitis?
Well, it's caused by a bacterial infection, and people that have compromised immune systems, particularly type 2 diabetics, are very susceptible to that because their immune system can't fight back. So mine was actually the strep virus, went in through a little sore on my elbow, and then it necrotizes after that, and then it starts spreading. And the only way to get rid of it is to physically remove the flesh. So I don't know if you guys can see my arm, but
yeah. That's crazy. And that's just, that's basically just from food.
Yeah,
right? From exactly. Like abusing food for a long period of time, and then it led to the immune system being compromised. And then do you have any of that anymore?
No, absolutely. I came out of the hospital with that all gone. I was in the hospital for about 7 weeks, and when I came out, I was okay after that. But I knew it took me a little. You
were still diabetic after that. Yeah.
I was still diabetic, and I did research and knew that why I got it. And I didn't want to get it again. And I knew that this was all complications from the diabetes. So that's when I made the decision to get rid of that diabetes.
And it took us a while, right? Like it wasn't, we wish it was like instantaneous. It definitely took us a year of healing and figuring it out before we could get on track. We stopped and started a keto diet every week, every month, it seemed like, for that entire year. And we just really could never stick to anything together. We usually caused each other to cheat. One of us would have a cheat day, and then the other one would be like, well, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And then we could never get back on track again after that. So it did take us a while to find something that worked, that we were finally able to stick to.
In that year process, were you making any progress?
We
of
were
trying?
really good at losing 20. Yeah, we were really good at losing 20 pounds. Like 20 pounds, I could lose 20 pounds in a couple weeks. You know, when you're that overweight, losing 20 pounds, and then I needed a celebration to celebrate the 20-pound loss, and then I would usually gain back at least 15 of it, and then I could lose another 20. So maybe there was some steps, you know, 2 steps forward, maybe 2 steps back again. We kind of went back and up and down the same 20, 30 pounds a lot that year.
So what were the habit changes that you think that led to, you know, losing 20 pounds, then continuing on losing more and more and more weight? What types of things did you guys change in terms of what you do?
We started, I mean, it was different. We kind of just had a mindset change. We both really just were tired and sick, and kind of both came to that. We were both ready at the same time. I think that helped as well. And, you know, deciding not to have a cheat day. We also started eating a lot more meat instead of, you know, living on chicken breast and vegetables. We were eating a lot of steak, which made you not want a cheat day as much. So that was really helpful. And then we almost got to a mindset where instead of allowing the other or giving the other person permission to cheat, we were encouraging each other not to. So, you know, our planned cheats for our anniversary dinner ended up being like, okay, well, what if we just went out and got expensive steaks instead and do something else that was a little more supportive. And I think, like Chris said, the results are pretty addicting. That year of losing, you know, in 2018, when we both lost all the weight in the year, was just, I mean, it was a blur and there was no desire to cheat. I think the last year has been harder when you're maintaining and you're not seeing the scale change every day and you don't have those bigger goals that you're looking towards, or you're not trying to lose 100 pounds again. Like, how do you maintain by still staying on track? That's been, especially for me, a lot more where the emotional triggers are coming out, where I want to emotionally eat and trying to find other ways of coping with stress and work and kids and life without going to food. And I don't, you know, indulge in sweets, but I still struggle with the need or the desire to do that. And that's something that I still am healing with myself and working on repairing.
Isn't it kind of weird? You know, it's like, why is your day so related to your food? It's a strange thing. And then I think when you start to get where you guys are, you can kind of look back at it and just kind of think, well, that was kind of foolish. Like, you're kind of like, why was I always doing that? But when you're actually in the moment, it feels like you can't break out of it. It feels like you're, you know, locked up in a cage and that you don't have a choice but to go towards these cravings that we have. Did you guys, throughout the process, either one of you drink at all, alcohol?
We were really never big drinkers beforehand. I mean, maybe I travel a lot for my job, so I might have like a drink or two with coworkers. But we were never really big drinkers.
Same, occasionally socially, but never on any consistent basis. And since we started, we really haven't, I don't think we've had any. One
time, like a year and a half ago, I was on a business trip and I had like a couple like vodka sodas in the evening one night and came home from that trip and had lost 0 weight. And I was like, no, okay, that's it. I'm done. That clearly slowed me down. And that was a year and a half ago. And that's the last time I ever had anything, but we were never big drinkers to begin with.
So you guys don't drink at all now?
Nope. No.
You know, you guys were talking about the scale a lot. And one thing that I noticed is that, especially when people are losing a lot of weight, some people have a problem like seeing the scale go maybe up sometimes and down. Were you guys going, because you mentioned like you didn't lose any weight that weekend, right? Were you just going down, 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 or did you have a lot of like spikes up and down?
There might have been some flat weeks, but when we started, I think we were in such a bad place and so overweight, over fat, I should say, that line went down. I mean, 1 week might have been 1 pound and the next week might have been 5 pounds.
Yeah.
But, or 0, but never any up.
Right. Never any up over a week period. And that went till about 80 to 100 pounds lost. Then it got flat and maybe some little ups and downs, you know.
Yeah.
One thing we had to adjust to was how much we were eating when we were 100 pounds overweight versus, you know, you want to keep eating that same amount. And still to this day, I still eat the same amount. So I kind of tweak with protein ratio and fat ratio and things like that so that because over time I've always overeaten, right? So if I adjust the fat ratio, now I can still have that full feeling, but not be taking in too much energy or calories.
So you track your calories?
I do not track my calories. I just I notice if I eat fattier, if I eat more fat at the same volume that I'm eating, I will stay flat or even gain weight. So what I do is when I want to get back down a little bit, I'll just eat sirloin and chicken breast instead of ribeye and cheese.
To try to clear things up a little bit for people, if you were to eat if someone was to eat 3,000 calories, I'm not much of a I don't even believe in calories. I hate that they even get mentioned, but for various reasons, I do think it can be effective. And that's been proven by a lot of people who step on stage in bodybuilding. It can have some accuracy, can really help people tune in their nutrition. But anyway, if someone was to consume a 3,000 calorie a day diet, and they did that primarily through the standard American diet, that has a much different impact than if you're consuming protein, because we started to come to this realization in the last few years that maybe protein shouldn't even really count as an energy source. It can be used as energy, but it's kind of rare, and fat and carbohydrates are more readily available in terms of energy. So anyone who's listening to this who might not even want to participate in messing with a carnivore diet or even a keto diet, if you just shifted your 60% of carbohydrate intake to having maybe more 60% come from protein, you can end up with some pretty solid and pretty good results, end up satiated the way that you're talking about, because again, protein doesn't really count, I guess you'd say, against us in terms of calories. And then also, protein is so satiating, fat is satiating. Most people enjoy a steak, and so it makes those kinds of things a lot easier. Do you guys use any dairy? Like you mentioned cheese. What about something like butter, heavy cream and coffee, something like that?
Neither one of us likes coffee, so it's bizarre because we get asked that a lot. But so we don't do cream and coffee just because it tastes like dirt. But we do, maybe I'll cook some eggs in some butter or occasionally do that. And then cheese is more of a treat. I think I tend to fall into those addictive tendencies with cheese as well, where I'm not eating a cheese stick. It's end up grabbing too many of them. And so that's more of a treat, I guess, or something that we try to stay away from on a daily basis. But I think when we definitely agree with you as far as the protein. I realized for a while I was eating 2 pounds of steak a day, and I had gotten lean. I actually am up 10 pounds heavier than my lowest weight, but I'm a lot healthier now, because when I got down to my lowest, I think I just was still eating 2 pounds of steak a day, but it was so lean. I wasn't eating the extra. I was eating ribeyes, but I wasn't eating kind of the extra fat on the ribeyes, or ensuring that I was eating all of the fat pieces around it. And so I think my body just needed to gain a little bit of weight and muscle, and I needed to eat more fat at that point. So even 2 pounds of beef wasn't enough fat for me at that point.
How much research did you guys need? Did you guys need to really dive in and read a lot of books and understand the science of all this stuff? Or is that something that as you were going along the process, just a little bit more knowledge just maybe helped you stay true to the diet more?
Yeah, I'm definitely the science nerd.
He's the smart one.
I'm the one that's Ted Naiman, Ben Bickman, all these guys that are out there talking about all the science. I'm listening and soaking up everything that I can, and then I'm filling her in on, well, this is why this, and this is how this works, and whatnot. And we're both definitely driven by those different things and trying to make tweaks and model what we're doing after some of the advice they give. It definitely was a big help in the beginning. It's kind of where I started, was I just YouTubed how to reverse diabetes, and the first guy I found was Dr. Jason Fung, the fasting, and then it was just a rabbit hole from there, and down the road I went.
You're like, shit, don't eat. You're like, I don't want to try that.
Cole, and we kind of went through Cole's, Cole Robinson's.
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So those were, fasting has also been a big part of this as well. So we love to eat a lot, and we regulate how much we eat with how often we eat. And I think sometimes people try to know too much before they start. I was eating things in the very beginning that I would never eat now, but at least it got me to where I am. And if whatever you can do to get the junk out of your diet at first, then start there. And then over time, and the more you lose, the more you're going to have to change to keep losing, or to keep getting healthier, I guess. So it's start now with whatever you know, and then you can learn as you go. You don't have to be perfect to get started.
Yeah. On that,
If you're eating hot dogs, it's better than Twinkies.
We ate a lot of bunless hot dogs and microwaved with a low carb tortilla in the beginning. And I wouldn't do that now, but that was my dinner for like months, was microwave hot dogs wrapped in a tortilla with a slice of cheese in it.
yeah.
And did that work?
Hey, I lost 30 pounds that month, and I did that for a while. So when you have that weight to lose, I couldn't do that now. I wouldn't feel good on a low carb tortilla anymore. And I wouldn't want to do that now, but it certainly was beneficial for me in the beginning.
Some people get upset about like a dirty keto, you know, like, and going to fast food. And my opinion on all this is that, if you're excessively overweight, I think that's, enemy number one. And I think that if you can figure out a way to reduce that weight, if you can figure out a way to have that fat leave your body, then I think you're heading in the right direction, regardless of how weird or crazy the type of food is that you eat. You could have sausage every day. Maybe that's not preferred, and maybe we can make some sense and say logically, like, maybe that's not great to eat that much processed food that has that many other ingredients in it. But at the same time, I'm thinking one of the best ways to detoxify the body is to lose body fat, because body fat holds on to most of the toxins, mostly environmental toxins and things that we consume. So if you can knock that out and you're starting to head in the right direction, I think it could be something that you can work on reducing at some other time. But if you're losing weight, then that's step number one.
Yeah, I mean, I travel for my job, and or even just at work. Like I, work full time and have to eat out sometimes. I go to a fast food restaurant at least once a week and just get plain burger patties. I can crush 16 In-N-Out burger patties for my one meal that day, and
16.
Usually, yeah, they're 2 ounce.
That's awesome.
They're 2 ounce patties, so 16 gives me 2 pounds.
So no offense, Chris, but like half the audience just totally fell in love with your wife. Sorry about that.
I pull up to pay, and they usually are asking me like, "Where's the dog?" They think there's that dog in the car that I'm going to feed him to.
You're like, give me one fork.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that is always funny, because like when I go to In-N-Out, they recognize me based on my order, and then they want to give you like, I don't know, like 10 different forks and napkins. And you're like, no, I'll just do one. We're good here.
I don't even use one. I just have my own salt shaker in the car, and then just fold it and eat it.
Oh,
in
there
2
you
bites
go.
like a little taco.
Yeah.
Savage.
Expedite the whole thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. What you said a second ago about the hot dog, the weenie and the tortilla, that's like growing up Mexican. That's a staple in the house. So the fact that you were able to eat that and still lose weight, like, you just made a lot of people happy. So I'm really glad you shared that.
So
It's obviously not the optimal thing, but if that's what it takes to get started,
Yeah.
it's better than Twinkies, right?
Absolutely.
I'm really curious about your journey on the way down in terms of the weight, because like you guys mentioned, you made a lot of like changes as you're heading down to figure out how to get to that next place, and you implemented fasting. But what were some of the big changes you made while dieting, other than maybe the food quality? Did you guys were you guys eating less and less food, or was it what were some of the big changes you made to continue dropping?
I think it was just mostly less and less often. We were people who ate 6 to 8 times I was constantly snacking. My bottom desk drawer at work was full of a bag of gas station snacks, and I was constantly just munching on that. And so really we started with 3 meals a day and a snack, then went to 3 meals, 2 meals, 1 meal, and really just then we tried to, did a fast. So that was one of the biggest things, was stop thinking that you needed to eat every time somebody else was eating, is one of the, I guess, just eating less often. You think?
Yeah, same for me. We started the intermittent fasting pretty early on, and that wound up getting down to 1 meal a day. And then eventually, during the peak of the weight loss, we were maybe eating 5 times a week on average.
Yeah.
And for me, that was really helpful, because when I eat 1 meal a day, I can pretty much eat as much as I want. I can make the most glorious steak, 2 steaks, sit there and eat it till I'm full.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mind is liberated knowing that I'm not eating again till the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm not hungry again till the next day either. And that trajectory keeps going. And the other adjustment as far as eating, like I talked about earlier, for me at least, I got to a certain point and I kind of hit a wall. And I kind of had to make a choice. Do I start eating less, which I do not want to restrict, or do I go the Naaman route and start dialing down the fat a little bit? So I started doing that, and then the weight started coming off again, and I lost another 20 pounds or so after that. Those have been the big things for me.
Yeah, it takes a lot of trial and error to kind of figure out how you can continue to make progress. Eating 5 times a week as opposed to 5 times a day, like that is staggering. Like that is amazing. You guys are amazing. I mean, this progress is unbelievable, and I think you're motivating and inspiring a lot of people. I think maybe when somebody thinks of that, I think we can all agree like eating 5 times a week would literally work for everybody. But would it work for everybody in terms of being able to kind of switch their mindset into that? Just like you guys played it out, like it took time. It didn't, that's important thing to note is it didn't happen overnight. I don't know why, we have this, like I've been trapped by this as well. And I'm always thinking that I always need other stuff, whether it's, a car or whether it's like just leaving the house with food. Like I'm a person that like always like needs and wants more shit all the time. And so I have like a closet full of, I have a closet full of clothes. I have closets full of food. I have like 4 refrigerators. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I don't know how we get to that point. I definitely had enough hugs as a kid, so I don't know what it is I'm trying to make up for. But I think a lot of people are in that boat, and they think they just need to eat all day long. What do you think was like the number one step to get you guys to calm down with that, like wanting to always have food, to always pack, like even just leaving the house for an hour, you're like, oh, I should bring a protein shake with me, or I should bring a bag of almonds with me, or like you always just think you need something. How'd you guys break that?
I think just time and research, and when you realize when you go without it and you realize you're not hungry and you didn't starve and you're fine is a big realization.
You didn't die.
Yeah. Going 24 hours without eating food and not dying is pretty, I mean, you realize you're going to be okay. And it actually wasn't that hard. And, keeping yourself busy or something the first time that you try to do that is big. The big part for me, and this is, a whole other, we don't have to get into it, but is with the kids. I used to not even go to the grocery store or go run an errand without taking snacks for the kids, and big shift to stop giving them snacks every time we go run an errand was a big change for me, and realizing that they'll be fine without them having a snack too. So if I don't need it to eat every couple hours, like why do they either? So that was, maybe that's something else, but, I think just doing it and realizing that you'll be okay is the easiest way to fix it.
Also learning about, giving your body that metabolic rest between meals, and knowing that that's a healthy thing, combined with the fact that when you're eating the right foods, you're not hungry. It just makes it easy. So now when I see somebody like, oh, I have a 4-hour plane flight, what am I going to take to eat? I just kind of laugh. Like, that's insane. Like,
right.
You don't need anything. Yeah.
Do you guys feel that hunger is like healing? Like, you don't want to give people, make people self-conscious about every time they eat. They have to think that they're doing something negative necessarily. But do you think that some hunger is necessary, and maybe being hungry is like the fat burning process getting underway?
I think there's a little bit to that. Just doing the fasting, I think there's a point where I don't think it's contradictory to say that your body is going to tell you it wants food, even though it has plenty of body fat to burn, because it wants to preserve that, and it doesn't want to waste it because it never knows when it's going to use it. So I think that if you're hungry, you're definitely burning body fat, I think, at that point. And pushing yourself a little bit, a little adversity is not necessarily a bad thing. And I talk about not being hungry when you're eating this way. It's so much better and less than when you're on that insulin roller coaster and it's like, give me food. It's just like a subtle feeling in your stomach that, you know, you could eat right now. If food was in front of you, you'd like to. But also, if I can't eat for a couple hours, I'll be fine. Like, it's kind of more indifferent than anything. And so pushing that limit a little bit, I think when we were in peak weight loss mode, you know, and we eat mostly 7 times a week now, but when we were losing the bulk of that weight, when we were eating 5 times a week, it was like, okay, I'm just going to push it a little longer. I'm going to stay this way a little longer. I'll go for a walk in the cold, you know, do things that make you a little bit uncomfortable to try and get a little bit better each time from that.
Did you guys, like, through this whole process, were you guys going to the gym at all? Were you active in that way, or did you guys just like do it mainly through your diet?
We had both. I had lost 80 pounds before I went to the gym at all. And after I lost 80 pounds, I was like, okay, maybe I need to start thinking about like what happens next and toning. And I'm, you know, like just wanted to start tightening things and toning and worrying about skin and muscles and realizing there was a lot of space in my skin that needed to be filled. And so we started going to the gym. I knew nothing about lifting. The thought of running on the treadmill sounded terrible to me. And so I started taking weightlifting classes at a gym, and I would go 2-3 days a week and just lift weights and do what they told me to do. And so that's kind of been my routine for the most part, is just that. I don't get on a treadmill. I don't run, but I lift heavy 2-3 days a week.
And for me, same thing. It was about 80. Well, when I first started, I went for a walk, about 4-mile walk every day, every afternoon.
Ooh.
And
he's home with the kids during the day, so I would walk in the door from work and he's like, I gotta go. It was a good break to get out of the house and go for a walk at the end of the day.
I knew that extra, even though it wasn't anything high intensity, is just, you know, burning down some of the, being diabetic, you know, kind of helping clear out the liver of all the excess sugar and garbage in there, you know, just burn a little bit and get the sun and things like that on myself. And then so that was probably maybe 5 days a week I would do that, and I still do that. And then after about 8 months or so, 80 pounds, I'm sorry, which was about, I don't know, 6 months after we started, I started going to the gym as well. And I just do simple compound movement workout, usually with just the machines or doing pull-ups, things like that, just to work the major muscle groups. And
you go 5 days a week for that?
I usually go 4 to 5 days a week, yeah.
Was there ever any sabotage from one to the other, or like trying to slow down somebody's progress? Because I know sometimes with couples, they get concerned, you know, somebody starts looking better and then maybe you're worried that's, you know, they may be attracted to someone different, or someone different from the outside may now be attracted to them. Like, so I've seen this happen with couples often where, you know, somebody might lose like 40 pounds and the other spouse is getting upset and wants to kind of sabotage or put an end to this dieting craze. Was there any sabotaging of each other, or did you know, have some, was it hard to see the other one make progress here and there?
No.
I think this is because we were doing it together. We knew that we needed each other to keep going. So no sabotage this time.
We both look better. So, I mean, kind of wash myself, right?
Right.
I do think I went through more stalls than he did, which was harder. And I think that's pretty typical for women. I started before him about a month. And so I had a little bit of a head start, and then eventually he gained and passed me. And, you know, I think most women are going to have a little bit more stalls in there, which was frustrating. And I kind of, you know, definitely got a little grumpy at him, I'm sure, during some times. But, you know, usually he would help me tweak what I was doing, or we would work together on fixing some things, or he would then encourage me by doing a fast with me or making some changes with himself so that we could stay on track together. Was
it emotional at all? Did you guys fight at all during some of this?
I'm sure. Yeah. I think definitely, like, you know, you store a lot of hormones in your fat. And so releasing all that fat releases a lot of hormones. And was a few months where I was not the most wonderful person to be around, just because I think that my body was going through so many changes with all the fat loss. And I'm sure that was difficult.
Chris is doing the right thing over there. Just keep smiling.
Yeah.
Hey, Laura, I'm curious about this because, you did a lot of fasting, you did a lot of prolonged fasting, and you hear a lot of people say women need to think about certain things when they fast, or it's not safe or whatever. So you went through this process successfully. Is there anything that you did different from Chris, or was it all the same? Was there anything you added into your diet, supplementation, or was it just, your diet?
I definitely eat more fat than he does. I tend to stick with fattier meats. And then I realized when I was eating really cleanly trimmed ribeyes that I wasn't feeling good. And that's when I went through that kind of grumpy phase because I just wasn't getting enough fat or getting enough energy. And I think that it affected my hormones some during that time. And the minute that I started adding more fat back in and making sure that I was getting enough energy, that made the difference. So I would try to eat lean like him. He would eat top sirloin and some lean ground beef or some shrimp. And it helped him drop some extra, 10 pounds. And I tried to do the same thing, and it didn't really work for the weight loss. And it also just made me really hormonal. Yeah. So I just had to remember that I need to eat a little bit more fat, which then I have to regulate a little bit how much and how often I'm eating because I'm eating fattier. So I can't copy him as much anymore as I did in the beginning.
So does this mean your fasts were sometimes a little bit longer when you took them, or?
I think long-term I fasted more often than he did. I would do maybe 2 48-hour fasts a week instead of 1, or I would, then I would eat a lot of fat after that.
Okay. Got it. And then also you guys mentioned your kids. Now, a lot of times, especially when couples are trying to do something or parents trying to do something, they always have their kids as an excuse. And you mentioned that you weren't you don't have them snacking or whatever. So now with the way that your diets are, have you adjusted the way your kids eat? Do they eat 5 times a day? How do your kids eat now?
So we don't track their macros or have anything like that. We focus on keeping out processed foods, sugars, grains, seed oils, kind of any of that. Those are the major players, I guess. And they don't snack. The school requires them. My daughter's in kindergarten and they have a required snack time in the afternoons, which is unfortunate. So we send something. Normally the kids and the parents provide their own. And I would say, from what I can tell, 90% of the time it's some sort of cookie or goldfish or Cheez-Its. And those are things that we want them to have. So we send something for her to take and kind of pull out of her bag during that time. But we prioritize protein is, I guess, the most simple way to say it. They eat 3 meals a day. Usually one of them is pretty big and then 2 smaller meals. And then prioritize protein, a lot of meat, eggs. If they want some veggies, they get some veggies. They have some lower sugar fruits. They have some macadamia nuts, usually cheese. What else? But they'll have a sweet potato, right? We'll take a sweet potato and cut it up and put it plain in the air fryer, and they'll have some of that as well. We just make sure that that's on a day where they've already had protein, where they're not eating that type of carb for 3 different meals.
Yeah.
They eat a lot of eggs, a lot of sausage. A lot of burger patties with no bun.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much sort of paleo almost.
Yeah, with cheese, I guess. Paleo with cheese.
Yeah.
Walk us through a little bit of convenience and price. What are things that you guys do that you feel is pretty convenient? You mentioned rolling through In-N-Out. What are some things that you guys do that's convenient and easy, maybe for the both of you, maybe as a family? And then what are some things that you guys do that are maybe factoring in the price, or does price even need to be factored in because you eat so infrequently?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Convenient and cheap is not eating.
Right. Yeah.
When people ask if carnivore is affordable, we say, I used to spend more in ice cream a week than I probably do in steak. So it definitely balances out. We shop at the grocery store with what's on sale. We get the ads from the newspaper and we buy what's on sale that week. And I eat out more than Chris does. Chris eats at home every day, and he's also cheaper. He eats just exactly what's on sale from a regular grocery store every day. And I'm a little bougier and want ribeyes most of the time. So I go to Costco and get a pack of ribeyes if I'm feeling fancy or if there's nothing else on sale that I want. We do burger patties. We do like the frozen burgers from Costco. Our kids eat usually one of those a day, or we go through a lot of just frozen burger patties from typical places like that.
Every Monday we get the ads in the mail from the grocery chains that tell us the sale for the week, and they're all laid out on the counter, and we're planning what we're going to do that week. And that way we always can get something we don't have to freeze. It's, available at the store that week. This week it's New York strip, next week ribeye, the next week sirloin, whatever it is. And then I'm always buying like some ground beef, lean ground beef, like 93%, when it's on sale, so that I can make some burger patties for myself during that time.
With the style of diet that you have, you guys can cook every meal basically, right? Or not every meal, but almost every meal, right? And I think that that's a huge factor, because the food just tastes better. Like you're not carrying around food with you like at work or something like that, and then having to microwave something that was cold. I think for a lot of people, it's very like unappetizing. And when their buddy says, hey, let's go to Chipotle and grab a burrito, you're going to do that every single time over having whatever nutritious thing that you have in the fridge at work. So I think, even just eating once or twice a day is big.
Yeah, we eat, both of us eat lunch for our one meal. So people are always asking, like, don't you miss out on family dinners? And I mean, family dinner when you have toddlers sounds terrible. Like, you want to really cook and get your kids to eat and then clean up and deal with all that in the 2 hours that I have from when I get home from work before they go to bed. Like, I would much rather sit and read and play with my kids and give them my time and focus versus fighting with a meal. That's just because we're all sitting down at the table. That's not that relaxing and bonding. So we do, but I get asked a lot like about microwaving steaks. I don't want to eat a microwave steak left over at work. It's not appetizing to me. And you're right. I would not keep up with this. So I tend to eat out more because I'll get burger patties that are fresh. I don't mind some cold like flat meat or like flank steak. I'll eat that cold. Chris makes me some like sliced up deli, like tri-tip that I'll take to work and eat that cold. So I have other options for things that I'll do to take to work, or I'll just fast one day as well.
You mentioned earlier too that first off, you still have those sugar cravings and you're still coping with some of that. So like, what tactics do you use when you feel that, or when that comes about? Do you just immediately eat protein? Like, what do you guys typically do?
I think I probably deal with more the emotional side of things than Chris does. I try to, at this point, I'm reach out. I know that isolation, if I try to kind of hide what I'm going through, or if I'm stressed and I'm craving something and I try to hide that only like makes me want to convince myself that I could do it. Right. I just say isolation feeds that addiction. And so I try to be open about it and talk to Chris. If I'm around other people, I would never falter, because I would never let anybody see me fail. But it's when I'm, home alone on a Friday night and Chris is working and the kids are, asleep that comes out. And so I try to listen to a podcast or, call a friend or watch a YouTube video of something that's going to help me, or just even get my mind off of it. If I'm just sitting on the couch feeling stressed out from work after a week, then that's when I'm going to have those cravings. So maybe it's just do a little workout on the floor, or especially like texting a friend or calling somebody. Listening to really good podcasts helps a lot. I
think a good cue for people, a really healthy thing to do, is just try to do the opposite. Like, so if you are sitting around kind of like feeling sorry for yourself, or the day was rough and you're like, man, I just, I want to go to the store and get a snack, or I want to reach into my fridge and eat A, B, or C. Just think like, what's the exact opposite of that? The exact opposite of that's probably something that will make you more proud of yourself. And so you have an option to stick up some points on the scoreboard and to feel tremendously a lot better about yourself rather than a lot worse. And it's hard in those moments because those cravings really are hitting you hard. But you can think like, yeah, what are some opposites of this? I could train, I could hit the floor and do some push-ups, I can go on a walk. And then I tell people a lot of times, and this is not easy to do, but like we all could use more sleep. So just go to fucking bed, just don't end up in your pantry. Just, try to bypass it and just get your ass to sleep. Another trick I've been telling people about is when you do eat dinner or you do eat your meal or meals, put your shoes on before you do it, so that way it triggers you to go out on a walk immediately afterwards. So that way there's nothing, you can have your jacket ready or whatever it is you need to go outside, flashlight or whatever it is you need to go outside. Everything's already all set. And then it's easier when you're done with your meal to go, like I already got things halfway started. I might as well stop being fat and I might as well go on a walk.
And that's so true. We do that a lot. If I eat one bite of something too, I have to tell myself, you can't even have a bite. If I were to have one piece of string cheese at night, then I'm done. Like I will eat anything that I can find in this house or I can order. And that's a lot of things. So that's part of it is just knowing that you can't control yourself. That's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be somebody who can just have a small snack. You don't need to have any snack. And then I just remind myself that I'm not really going to be able to stay on track if I have that.
What are some of the excuses that you guys maybe used to use when you guys were heavier? And how much did both of you weigh? Let's start with that. How much did you guys weigh?
My highest recorded was 294. I was probably a little higher than that, but that's what I go off of.
I was 263 is the highest that I had recorded, and that was at a doctor's office. And I'm 5'8", so either, no matter what, that's still really heavy.
And then what were the excuses that you guys may have told yourself, like internal dialogue? And then what are the excuses that you guys maybe shared with each other about we'll wait till after Christmas. We'll wait till the new year. We'll wait till Monday. What were some of those excuses sounding like?
I think the one we used with each other the most was just all right, well, we'll get it out of our system this weekend and then we'll start on Monday. This 3 days of eating crap is going to really get it out of our system and we'll get back on track. We used to do that a lot, or we deserve it. It's a special occasion. Every special occasion, the first of the year. And we would be telling ourselves that in end of October, hey, this next year, the first of the year, this is going to be the time. And then that means we have to eat everything that we can over the next couple months or couple days. Those were the big ones for each other.
I don't think there was ever an excuse that came to the surface. I think it's just more of a subconscious fear of failing and ignorance at how to do it. Because you think about doing it and you just think you're going to be hungry and miserable all the time, which is the way it was every time we tried it before. And so it wasn't until we really did it this way where we didn't have that hunger and misery. Of course, there's little bits of hunger like we talked about earlier, but it's not the same hunger as when you're trying to restrict yourself to 1,000 calories of carbs a day. That's insanity. But we felt once we were doing it, and then we realized, well, this is easy. I'm satisfied. And the scale's going down and down. It's all right, the race is on. In 10 months, we lost over 200 pounds.
I think emotionally it's hard. I spent a lot of time. I just had a baby. I used that as an excuse for a long time where I just had a baby. It takes time. So that must mean I need to eat ice cream.
Ladies, your baby's 5 years old. Let's go.
Right. Well, that's part of the reason what started this. My son was going to turn 2 and I weighed more than I did with him than when I went into labor with him. I didn't weigh that much during my pregnancies.
Right.
And I was started at 200 pounds when I got pregnant with both the kids. And so that was a huge trigger, but telling myself, well, I'm nursing, I need extra calories. So that must mean I need a pint of ice cream every night. And then also just, I'm too stressed right now. Work's too crazy right now. It's not a good time for me. I had a rough day. I can't handle it right now. That was my internal struggle of, I can't handle, I need something to make me feel good right now.
And before you guys were that heavy, were you guys trying different diets before this? Did you try vegan? Did you try counting? What did you guys do before?
Many years ago, I did Atkins for a little while, which was basically similar and it was successful at it. I never stuck with it. And then that was probably 10 years ago. But then before we just started this, we really didn't do anything else other than low carb, mainly because I was convinced that it works because it worked for me before. And also I hate vegetables. So this is kind of made for me. So that was the only way I was going to do it. So she had to come off the line.
Well, our oldest daughter is or like our oldest daughter together is 5. And so after she was born, we did lose some weight. That was right at the time he found out that he was type 2 diabetic. And we lost weight together. I think I lost 60 pounds that time. And then we did like a weight loss competition with friends. We were very goal driven people. And so we lost a lot of weight together, just doing low carb in general, or what we thought was low carb. And at the end of that, the day the weight loss competition was over, we went out for cheesesteak and French fries and kind of really never got back on track at that point and gained it all back again together. 8 years ago, we both have yo-yoed a lot in our lives, but I did a vegan diet for a year. Just same thing. I saw a vegan movie and thought this is what I need to do to lose weight and be healthy. And so I did that for about a year.
Yeah.
Lost 50 pounds, but was pretty drained. My hair started falling out. It was pretty terrible by the end of it. So I think then I posted something. I was like off the vegan wagon for the night and I had eaten a giant ribeye and then I never got back on it after that.
What are some like pitfalls that you guys may have fallen into? Have you ever run into any issues with fasting? Have you ever, cramped up really bad and then kind of learned that you need more electrolytes, or ever just been really fatigued, or ever passed out, or ever ended up binging because you fasted too much? It was too much too early on, or something like that?
With your meds?
Oh, yeah. Well, early on, I was getting dizzy a lot, like having lightheadedness. And I thought maybe it was my blood sugar. I checked my blood sugar. It was normal and couldn't figure it out. So I went and tested my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was super, super low because I was taking blood pressure medication still from before. So I had to get rid of that, and that went away, obviously. But that was one kind of unknown. But
if I can tell if I fast for a while and I'm not putting salt in my water or not having potassium, I definitely get some leg cramps and foot cramps. They'll wake me up at the night or kind of just end up walking around the house. So I can tell at that point. But other than like electrolyte supplements, we don't take anything like that, just salt and some potassium.
Actually, Chris, you brought up something really interesting. You pretty much reversed your type 2 diabetes, and Jason Fung talks a lot about that. What else did you have to do other than maybe getting rid of the blood pressure medication for individuals that do have type 2? Like, is there anything special that they need to be doing as far as like the changes in their diet, their medication they're taking, insulin, all of that type of stuff?
I can't speak to insulin. I was never on insulin. I was on 2 different drugs for diabetes, metformin and glyburide, and or glyburide. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I was taking both of those. And once I changed my diet, within 2 weeks or so, my blood sugars were normal. So I just stopped taking them. Also, I was going down that research rabbit hole and just learning how it's kind of pointless if you're not eating any sugar. So, and the advice from people like Dr. Fung and stuff, and I'm not going to give medical advice to somebody who's diabetic on insulin right now, but I'm out there, I'm walking every day, I'm eating the right stuff, I'm spacing my meals out. That stuff's in the past. So I pretty much stopped that right away. And my blood sugar took maybe 3 weeks to a month before it was never above 85 in the morning. And I just credit that to being completely on plan, spacing the meals out, working off some of that excessive sugar, glycogen in the body, burning some of that down, and just letting things kind of normalize. And then that's maintained the whole time. I was on about 6 or 7 different medications, and I stopped them all. The first one I stopped was a statin. Once I started researching, I found out the truth about statins, and I threw that one in the garbage. But the blood pressure medication, the diabetes stuff, I was taking ibuprofen every day, 3-4 times a day, just for the pain you're in when you're carrying around that much weight. Sleep apnea, that went away.
He used to sleep with the machine that he's off completely. He's been off of that for a long time.
Damn. What did you guys weigh when you met?
I was probably like 220, maybe 200. Like I was definitely not like around between 200 and 220, kind of going up and down. Same thing, always on a diet of some kind.
I was probably around 250 to 275, somewhere in that.
And then what about your childhood? Were you guys both heavy growing up, or?
I think I definitely was a pretty normal kid growing up. And then once I hit puberty is when I really started to gain. And then I went to college and gained. And I was always at least, double-digit pant sizes, probably around like 180 for my late teens. And then once I hit my 20s is when I really started to gain even more. So I was definitely, this is by far the thinnest I've been since puberty.
Wow.
And I always struggled a little bit. I was a chunky kid even from junior high, I remember. And then in high school, I was probably 240 to 250. And then after high school, I actually had to get down to 180 because I joined the Air Force. And so I wound up having to lose 60 pounds. So I was 240 when I was 18 years old. And then I lost 60 pounds to get to 180, went into the Air Force, and over 4 years came out of the Air Force at 215. And then it's ever since then till I got to about 300. And now I'm back down to the 180s.
Do you guys feel that food is like an addiction? Do you feel it's an addiction for people?
100%. It is for me, 100%. And I think that was where we have always yo-yoed because we never realized that before. We're both really determined, driven people. We were not lazy. We're really good at sticking to a plan when there's a goal. But once we hit that goal, it's the celebration, it's the getting off track, and it's never being able to regain that control again.
Or being naive to think that, okay, now I can moderate and just have it once a week.
That was the problem. When we finally realized that is the first time that in our separate lives, we've ever been able to maintain any weight loss before together or previously, because we've realized we can't just have a Friday night, once a week cheat night and get back on track again. And that's been very freeing for us.
What has this done for you guys as a couple?
It's been good. I mean, overall, we get a lot of things must be different now questions, which is fun, but it's been good. I think in some ways I know I would not have made it this far without Chris, and we definitely have only been able to accomplish it together. And I think we both know we need each other for long-term health and happiness for our family.
There's accountability there. We keep each other accountable as well as motivated.
Yeah.
And it's fun too. I mean, it's the subject of lots of our conversations, and we talk about podcasts, we talk about Mark Bell, like my post today, it's kind of something positive that can fill our downtime rather than doing something unproductive.
Right. And we still cooked. I mean, it's nice not to have to, I think if one of us was doing it and the other one wasn't, there would be so much resentment there, and it definitely would have driven a wedge between us. I don't think either one of us would have come this far if the other person wasn't on track. And even little things, we're talking about what are we going to eat on Christmas and planning out our Christmas meals. It's just very comforting to know that I'm not going to have somebody who's going to try to tempt me, or I'm not going to have to deal with the stress of having a bunch of Christmas cookies around the house for that. So it definitely has brought us closer together. There's certainly been some stress along the way and some, difficulties, but I think that we know we need each other a lot with this, and we know it also would have completely driven a wedge between us if we were not in this together.
I think it is a pretty big deal though, like how you guys, when you said you guys are determined people, like you've lost 60 pounds, 50 pounds and gained it back, and you've done it multiple times. And then now with what you guys have done now, it's something that you've maintained. Has this been the longest time that you guys have maintained this weight loss?
100%. This is my goal was to have 2 birthdays in a row where I was a consecutive weight, and that's never happened to me in my life at all. Yeah,
same. Basically since October, so 14 months now, 15 months, been within 5 pounds of the same weight.
Mm-hmm. And that's
never happened in my life.
Never. I would have drastic swings, 50-pound swings at least every year.
And that idea of control that you mentioned, it's like even myself, and I think Mark too, like even like though we were, I guess, in shape before, in terms of food, like we still had that addiction to wanting to eat these foods, and you couldn't control like not going to go get it. Like we'd go make it happen. You know what I mean? And this, like with fasting and this style of diet, it's the only time that we've ever felt, at least I think, we've ever really felt in control of our cravings for food. So it's crazy.
And I think still we're supporting each other in learning that. And I think we both have a long way to go. You know, there was one of us walked into a gas station and saw a brand new kind of candy bar and take a picture and text the other person. And we're like, oh, this is, and then the other one's saying it's not worth it, right? It's definitely not worth it. Like, what do you want to eat tomorrow instead? We still have those moments, both directions. And it's something that the other person understands because we're going through it together and not addiction.
What do you guys think the fasting
to look at it like a drug and to really think that I'm an addict, like almost to do the whole 12 steps with yourself, you know, and like I'm an addict and I know that I can't touch that, you know, and then it makes it easier. It's almost liberating because then you don't obsess about it anymore. And if you would have asked me 5-10 years ago, ever in my life, what my favorite food is, I would say a steak. So now I can have my favorite food every single day. So it makes missing the Twix bars a little easier.
Yeah.
Have you guys noticed that the discipline, and this is something I've noticed, the discipline of fasting has maybe, it sounds weird to say it, but it's maybe calmed down a lot of other things in your life. I think that the food stress is a weird pull on you all the time. You know, there's a website called ruled.me and has a lot of recipes on keto type stuff. And when I went in there and read about like, you know, why the website has that name, it's because the guy used to be like 300 or 400 pounds or something like that. And he was ruled by food. And I just thought that's a great message. Like a lot of us are ruled by food. Food kind of really controls and dictates the day. I felt like once I got in tune with fasting, not that I'm an angry person or an antsy person really, but like I was a little bit more high strung when food had that, when food ruled me, when food was, it just had that pull all the time of you know, I'd go to a restaurant, I'd be hungry and I'd be like, oh man, this is taking so long. And I'd be frustrated. And anytime I got hungry, I would get like irritable and things like that. Have you guys noticed that through the discipline of fasting that maybe things have kind of calmed down? It's a little bit easier to be more rational, a little bit easier to be more logical.
You might think I'm not very like calm all the time anyway, but yeah, I mean, I for sure, if anything, it's physiological where you're not dealing with those insulin spikes, and it's an actual thing where you're going to have less emotional roller coaster because you're not feeding that. But I think it's been big for us to try to create memories as a family and do things that are not all food centered, and to try to not let food be the reason why we celebrate. The fact that we don't have to eat cake on my birthday or on an anniversary what you eat doesn't have to define how you celebrate something. And that's been a big part of this for us. And so, you know, fasting has helped. I sit at a lot of restaurants with a lot of people and a lot of corporate business lunches and don't eat. And it's very hard for other people sometimes that you're not eating and they are. But I think that for me, I'm calm and I can work, and it gives me a chance to focus on the relationships that I'm having with people because I'm not eating. And I very much enjoy that sometimes.
You know, you just said something that was really interesting. It's very hard for other people when you're not eating and they are. What do you mean by that?
I think when you're making a choice to not eat sugar or to not eat carbs or to not eat in general, people take that as an offense to them. And that must mean that you're judging what they're eating and what they're doing. And it has caused some stress and some tension in a lot of relationships for people because they project their own insecurities upon themselves. And you not eating is an offense to how they're eating.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for people sometimes when you change and they don't.
I saw some good friends of mine last night. out at a sushi restaurant, and they were like, "Oh, we're just, we got our cheat day." Like they had to get it off their chest that, that I saw them with carbs or whatever. It was kind of funny, and I don't care. Like that's up to them, and I wish everybody good health and everything, but like I'm not going to sit there and switch out your food for you or take all your rice off your table and throw it away or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people just start feeling guilty about it, but it's if you're somebody who can moderate, I think as long as the majority of your diet is on track, if you want to have a cheat day once in a while, great, have that. I wish I could, but that doesn't mean that, are you kidding yourself really though, that you can and get back on track again? Or is that just your excuse? Like, is this really the time, the one cheat day, or are you just trying to pretend like you can moderate when you can't?
What you got over there, Andrew?
So I'm curious, like, what your guys' take on this, because I'm sure you guys get asked, or maybe you don't actually. There's a lot of people that don't want to know the answer, but there's somebody that's listening right now, and they have so much momentum going the opposite way. They're hearing your guys' story, and you guys are the minority right now, right? Like, there's not enough people that can replicate what you guys have done. So where is like the absolute, like, very bottom minimal place to start for somebody who, like I said, they've just been going the wrong way for simply too long, and they know they're unhealthy, they want to change, or at least they think they want to change. They might have told somebody they want to change, but yet they're going to go home tonight and still have, the pizza because it's Friday, or, whatever it may be. But where can that mom or that dad that's, had the exact same situation as you guys, what is step one? Oops, wrong camera.
I think step one is making that decision, saying I'm done. Like, you have to kind of, like they talk about, back to the drug analogy again, you don't do anything about it until you hit rock bottom. So I think for us, we were at that rock bottom when it came to that, and we said, okay, we're done.
It's not I'm going to try. Yeah, it's not I'm going to try this for a month. I'm going to try this for a week. I'm going to eat good until my birthday. You just have to be ready to be done completely.
And commit. Yeah. And then once you do that, you almost like fall on the sword, essentially. You give yourself into that, then you recognize all those excuses when they come to your brain, and you recognize the reasons why not as being pussy, and then you stand up against it, and you walk into the fire instead of running away from it all the time. And once you've made that decision, and if you're not at that place, then it's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be rough. You've got to stand into the wind and go.
And that's the one thing that I can't do for somebody. I can tell you what you can eat and what you can't eat, but I can't motivate you, and I can't get you to want to make a change for yourself and for your family. You have to be ready on your own, or figure out where does that motivation come from yourself.
And then when you guys did have bad eating habits, did the kids kind of have the same habits as well?
It's funny, for the first several years, they ate so clean. I did made their own baby food. We never did rice cereal. I nursed. I was so clean. They never got sugar. They didn't have salt until they were 1. I followed all the organic baby feeding ways. And then the kids would go to bed at night, and we would order an extra large pizza and wings and ice cream.
Oh, nice.
So we definitely kept them more on track. We didn't know certain things, I guess. So they were eating some toast and bread, things that they don't eat now. And then I think that year that Chris was sick and recovering, we went through as a family a lot more fast food, convenience meals, box mac and cheese. That was when all the organic make your own food went out the window. And we kind of brought in we have to survive at this point, and all the convenience. And then it took us a little bit of time once we were on track before we started switching their diet again.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to ask next was was there a time period where you had to kind of get them back on track? And do you have any tips for parents? Because we hear that a lot. It's I want to eat good. And it's so Nsima tells them okay, get all the crap out of the house. Well, I would, but the kids love Pop-Tarts, and they eat cereal before they go to school every single day. So, do you have any advice for parents that do want to clean everything up and get the kids kind of to follow whether it be a similar diet as they're following, or at least just clean it up?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing that of what our kids are not going to want to eat protein and eggs if they have just had carbs and junk 2 hours before that. So no kid is going to sit down and want to eat chicken or steak for dinner if they just had goldfish 2 hours before. So kids will refuse to eat. Even our son now will completely refuse to eat anything of just straight protein if he's been given a snack. So the first thing we do is just cut out the snacks for the kids. Like, they're going to be fine without it. And if they're hungry, they will eat, and they will eat. We try to make it about what they like. I'm not going to force them to eat something that they don't like just because I don't want that done to me. So when we're throwing food on the grill and we're having a big grill, it's like, okay, do you want a burger patty? Do you want a sausage? Do you want a plain hot dog? Do you want chicken? Like, they get to pick their protein, and then pick something else after that. If you're just starting, I would say try to make small swaps. Swap out the Cheez-Its for some grain-free crackers. Swap out the, swap out, like, put in, we take a grain-free tortilla sometimes and wrap it around a burger patty so that the kids think that they get a bun, right? So making small swaps at first, but start with something that they like and build on it. For a while, the only thing our son would eat was like an all beef hot dog plain, and he called that a sausage, and then he builds on it, and now he'll eat burger patties, and now he'll eat steak sometimes, and you kind of have to just start from there. If they're dipping everything in a sugar-free ketchup for a while, like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Let them build on that, and then over time you can continue to keep offering things.
We also, again, back to that decision, you're their parent, and you need to make the decision. Right. And they're not going to starve. You're going to put food in front of them. Mm-hmm. They're going to be okay. Yeah. And once they eat it, they'll feel good, and they'll keep eating it. They'll get used to it. So the good thing about your kids is you can make that choice where we can mess up and go buy ice cream. The kid can't. So, it'll be a rough day or two, or a couple days maybe, and there'll be some adjustments, but you can get through that. Yeah. And then they'll be much better off for it. Also, I think it was important for us. We're not so dogmatic and crazy about it that we don't know that there's going to be birthday parties at school and there's going to be all these different things. And we don't keep them home. We let them do that, and they get their cupcake when they go to the birthday party and whatnot and enjoy that. We just, whenever they're here, whenever we're putting the food in front of them, it's going to be no sugar, no grains,
That's funny, because that was actually my next question, because so we do our absolute best. We will meal prep with our daughter, and we'll like get her all the food that she needs for the day. But we get her every other week. So on our off weeks, we can tell she's not eating what she needs to eat. And this is an off week. And yesterday she actually had a like their school Christmas feast, right? And then she comes home and she's out of it. Her stomach's hurting, and it's like, well, babe, what did you eat? She's like, oh, well, I had mac and cheese. Like, okay, what else did you have? Like, oh, I had cookies. Okay, what else did you have? I had chips. And I'm like, babe, at what point did you have any protein? And she understands enough to to know that like what the difference is. And she's like, I haven't had anything. I'm like, well, that's why your stomach's hurting right now, because you ate so different than what you're normally used to. Do you guys also like meal prep with them, or like send them to school with like packed lunches that are, healthier choices than what a normal kid would do? Or
we definitely, I mean, our daughter takes bacon and cheese and cold zucchini for her lunch at school, or we send all their lunches, and then I send the snack in the afternoons for them. But we try to just teach them more concepts about protein makes you strong and too much sugar makes us sick. They're 3 and 5, so we're not trying to talk about fat and macros and, what you look like. And that's hard because we talk about weight a lot. And so how do we talk about that with the kids without making them, everybody thinks that if you in some way restrict sugar with your kids, you're going to give them some sort of complex later in life, which is so ridiculous. But our 3-year-old right now, we say, okay, what protein do you want for dinner? And he knows, I want a plain burger patty, or he'll pick out, I want a sausage. And so they know that they need protein to be strong, and that mommy and daddy used to eat too much sugar, and that's what made us sick before. If we do have a birthday party we're going to, we talk about hey guys, we're going to eat extra eggs today, and we're going to eat extra egg, protein for lunch because you guys have that birthday party later and you're going to be getting some sugar. So no fruit with lunch because that's sugar and you're going to have some sugar later. So we want extra protein early in the day before you go have some sugar later.
That's amazing. And I know you guys got to run in about 10 minutes now. Do you guys get like any flack from like other parents with not controlling, but like, kind of you're doing something different than what most parents are doing. So I was just curious, like if you guys have ever gotten stuff from people and what kind of ammo can you give me? Because I've gotten some shit for that stuff before. Like, oh, just let them be kids. It's like, well, I mean, I want them to live a long time and healthy. So, but yeah, I was curious.
I get a lot of the same guilt that I was talking about earlier. We went to a play date and the kid said something later about like wanted a popsicle and she was like, I told you, don't talk about sugar. Like she felt guilty because she knew she fed her kids stuff that my kids don't get to have. And so that was still like, she was was an affront on her in some ways. I think that I wish I was more strict when we went places to birthday parties and just said no. And that's something that we haven't done as much. And I wish I was, we're kind of getting more confident. The older our daughter gets too, she's almost 6. She's making those choices for herself. She said, hey, we have this Christmas party, or when we go to, school, they're doing snacks. She's the one who wants to bring her own snack now instead of having sugar snacks. So it helps when she can speak up for herself. But definitely
we don't talk about it either. So most people don't know really unless they're around with a lot. And in that case, they kind of know us and know our journey, and then they don't really judge at that point.
I mean, it sounds silly too, but we don't have a lot of family around here. It's just us. And so we don't have, a lot of grandparents and family events where people are getting into that. My mom also has switched and she is super strict carnivore. She's lost 70 pounds, reversed her diabetes. She's 62 and she's incredible. She's amazing. And she's saving her own life by eating this way. It was a big realization for her as a grandma to realize that I can do things with my grandkids that's not about food, and that I don't need to buy them candy every time I come see them, and I can read books with them, and we don't have to bake cookies for me to be a good grandma. So she visits us, quite a bit, and that has been, I know it's hard because the grandparents are usually the ones that are like pushing the treats on the kids.
I've been sharing with my kids since the time they were really little that, just poor eating habits make you fat. Like I just flat out have been telling them that since they were kids. They're both teenagers now, so I don't talk to them that way anymore. They can make their own decisions. And but my son, he'll have a Coke every once in a while when we go out to eat. But half the time he'll get a Coke, half the time he'll get a Diet Coke, half the time he'll get water. He mixes it up here and there, and he kind of knows like, if I'm going to eat ice cream, he's not going to have the sugar. So he just is conscious. He's not necessarily self-conscious. Like, I don't want that to make me fat. He just is aware. He has all the tools he needs. And then, what he decides in his life is up to him. And the same thing with my daughter. So for parents that are paying attention to this, I think it's totally fine. I don't think the word fat has to be such a bad word. I think that we can all agree that it would be best if you didn't get too fat as you got older, and it can limit a lot of the things that you're going for. It can limit the person that you end up with. I say this quite a bit too. It's like if you made a decision, like some of the decisions you guys made, it sounds completely crazy and sounds totally irrational to a lot of people. It doesn't sound irrational when you put context to it and say, hey, what if this would change the rest of your life? And it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe, at least steps towards that, and at least maybe getting halfway to where you guys got to would make some sense for some other people. What do you guys eat exactly? We'll kind of wrap this thing up with that, because we didn't really talk about that much, but I know you guys pretty much just eat meat, but is there anything else in there?
Well, I eat about 2 pounds of beef a day. Maybe once every couple of weeks I'll have some chicken, maybe some ground beef, but usually whatever steak's on sale, and occasionally some cheese, and I put salt on it, and that's it.
I am kind of the same way. I try to stick with 2 pounds of beef a day as well. Burger patties if I'm out, and mostly ribeyes. I like to eat what's on sale, but sometimes I just treat myself and just mostly eat ribeyes. I don't want to eat any.
I'm a New York strip guy.
Yeah, I'm not going to eat any of those dumb dried New York strips that are on sale. I would rather get Costco ribeyes. When I travel, I eat some eggs or some bacon just because eating out, I can't afford to buy 2 ribeyes when I go out places. And so I eat some eggs, and I might, eat some chicken, or actually, I don't even know the last time I ate chicken, but I'll get some eggs or bacon or something like that just because it's cheaper when you're eating out. A lot more burger patties. But if I had my way, I would have a plate with 2 fresh grilled ribeyes on it once a day, and that's it.
And you guys eat once a day?
Mm-hmm.
And then any different kinds of drinks or anything, or is it always water?
Just water. We both went through kind of like Diet Coke addictions on and off. We'd go off of it for a while, come back on again. Kind of this, is it really helping us, or is it really causing us to have more cravings? It definitely was a part of our weight loss journey, and I'm not thrilled about that, and I'm happier without it. But it's, that's where we were at. It kind of, in some ways, helped me not eat sometimes, because maybe I was kidding myself, right? It helped me satisfy that sweet craving, but maybe it was causing it in the first place. So I certainly wouldn't suggest that to anybody.
You guys are amazing. Thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I was glad that I found you guys on Instagram, and you're a huge inspiration to a lot of people that are going to hopefully join all of us for World Carnivore Month, which is starting up in just a couple days, so hopefully not even on January 1st, hopefully people that, on the day after Christmas, they could kick off some World Carnivore Month. Thank you guys so much for your time. Is there anywhere you guys want to direct people? You want people to follow along with some of your journey?
Both our Instagrams, I'm a little more active. Chris is the smart one, like we said, but I'm usually the more vocal one, which works. So Instagram especially. And I also have a YouTube channel. If you just look up my name, Laura Spath, on YouTube, I do talk with my mom on there. I've talked with Chris. We talk a lot more just about like our day-to-day life. And it has kind of like a timeline of how we lost the weight. So that would be the best place to hear more about us.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you guys so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Yo.
Damn. Those two were awesome.
That was great.
There's like so many people that come to mind right now, like so many couples with kids that once this is out, I'm just going to forward this to them, because it's always the kids. Like I know like 5 couples right now that come to mind that have told me, but my daughter, but my son, and it's just, they're
right.
They're the answer right there.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I feel strongly that a podcast like this should go like viral because of, these, we're, like I said earlier today, like we're on the other side of it. And then people are just like, oh, well, these guys, they've been doing it for a long time. I'm on steroids and Nsima's got genetics, right? And so there's nothing, we don't have anything to say, right? But these are people that they have a budget they need to adhere to. They don't have time to go play powerlifter or bodybuilder all day long. They have children and they have work this into their lives, and it's not something that costs any extra money, and it's not something that takes any more time. It actually probably is saving tremendous amounts of time because of, you heard them basically say they eat once a day. Eating once a day can be very difficult, but if you can get yourself to that point, I think it's great. Eating once or twice a day, I think is the answer for a lot of people. And I think that it could help millions and millions of Americans. But what they were saying, Chris, I mean, he really dug himself out of a hole. He was on a lot of medications, which I'm sure that's expensive, time consuming, going to the doctor. He's not attached to any of that anymore. He doesn't have to do any of that. He doesn't go through that process anymore. They talked about how they, were responsible with gathering coupons and things like that, and going to a local grocery store to get their meat, in a way that's more economical. Mm-hmm. And I just think there's so much to learn there. And if you rewind that podcast, listen back to it, I can't even really think of one there was not one nugget in there that you couldn't follow. No one really talked anything about a ketone. We didn't talk about, fats turning into ketones. We mentioned the word macros, which shouldn't scare anybody too much at this point. We talked about protein, fat, and carbs, but it was so general. It was so much of like, this is just the lifestyle that we've taken on, and we together have lost 250 pounds. Just remarkable. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The meal frequency aspect is so gigantic because, like, I think that's the first time I really thought about, like, in general, most people are eating 4 to 5 times a day. Let's just say 4 times. So they're having 28 different meal sessions a week. Let's add on some snacks. Let's say they have 10 snacks in the week. So 38 different instances of eating food a week. And what they literally just said is in the deepest part of their diet, they would eat 5 times a week. And now they're just eating 7 times a week. There we go.
Yeah, and I think you're being pretty generous in saying that it's only like 38 or 40. Like, I mean, it's people are eating nonstop because they can't get through the day without a snack.
Yeah, we is what I thought was amazing. There was actually there was a couple things, but there was 2 things that really stuck out, and I wrote it down. She said, we regulate how much we eat with how often we eat. Like, that's just holy crap, right? Like, that's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly your point. And I think people that don't want to be ruled by food anymore could just very simply, like, let's forget about ketosis and these different things going on in your body and forget about trying to complicate it and weighing stuff. If you could commit to eating, I would even say twice a day. If you can commit to eating twice a day, I think you can kind of kiss a lot of your body fat goodbye.
Yep.
And I don't even really know if you need rules. I think the rules I think they'll handle themselves if you're just being responsible and you're being conscious of the fact that you need to have protein and you're trying to get about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I think that would lead you to the right thing. And the other thing she said, which I thought was awesome too, was once you have somebody have a snack, they no longer desire the more valuable food that you're going to serve at dinner. So a kid, and she said 2 hours prior, which I thought that's an interesting selection of time, but that's literally what people that have kids and it's 4:30. That's what happens. Your kid comes through and they're like, hey, like, you haven't seen them all day because they're like in their room on their phone or doing whatever, right? People don't see their kids as much because they're just, your kids are off doing their own thing. They don't want to hang around mom and dad all day. And then they only, go to you when they need food. And so they come rummaging into the kitchen and they want to go through the pantry, and there it is. It's 4:30 and they eat, a lot of times children, even older children, it's not like they're dumb or anything, but people in general are not good at regulating how much food they consume. And a child is going to take the thing of goldfish and just dump it into a huge bowl. They could easily grab like a mug or something and have a much smaller portion size, but that's not the way we work. We just turn the thing upside down, basically. And if it overflows, that's just fine. And then they go back into their room and they eat on that. And then there it is. It's now 6:30 and mom and dad cooked a great meal and the kid's just like totally not interested. And I've talked about that before, going to your favorite restaurant, going to the nicest place in town, and you get their highest priced meat. And if you went to that restaurant with a big old bag of Doritos and you ate a bunch of the Doritos beforehand, the steak would literally taste like nothing.
Yep.
And so I think that people they're flipping their taste buds inside out. You've heard like grandmas say this before, like, don't spoil your dinner, right? Well, maybe that's actually maybe that's actually really great advice, because when you have that snack, even if it is about 2 hours beforehand, it's probably still going to lead you to not want to eat the protein that you're putting in front of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the like all the stuff they're saying about the convenience and affordability of actually eating this way. Because you're right, they're eating 7 times a week. It's like look at the numbers. That's going to be cheaper than the 40 that we like did a rough estimate on. And her just straight up admitting, like, yeah, I spent more on ice cream than I do on steak.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be eye-opening to a lot of people, because we get that. I mean, I know you get that question all the time, Mark, or that complaint, I should say. Like, I would eat better, but it's too expensive. I got so much going on. It's like, no, man. Like, look at our boy Justin. You know, he was he spoke at the carnivore meetup that we had here at Super Training. He's like, yeah, I did what I had to do. We got a family, they got to eat, and we just would go to, like, you know, Winco out here. That's it's a really affordable grocery store, and they made it work. It's like, I love this podcast because they took everyone's excuse and said, like, no, this is what we did. It's like, right. but yeah, this is what we did.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. I wonder, I do wonder how much people spend on food, you know, on a daily basis that they're not even really calculating. You know, if you're someone that's on a carnivore diet, you're going to eat meat. So you're going to cook up some like burgers. But then if you are a regular person that's not on a carnivore diet, you might buy meat from the grocery store, but then you're also buying buns, and you're also probably buying other things to put on there, ketchup, mustard, those things.
Yeah.
And when you're on a carnivorous diet, you really don't really mess with any of that. So I think that it's easy for people to say, oh, well, like, you know, you can go get 3 patties from McDonald's and it's, you know, $6 or something like that, or $9, whatever the hell it costs. And they can, you know, point to the filet that you posted about and say that filet is $60 or whatever, right? And they can compare that. But that's not really what we're trying to compare. We're trying to compare a different lifestyle, you know. So if you, I kind of almost wonder, you know, I'm doing the World Carnivore Month all through January on my YouTube channel. I'm going to document every day. I'm going to get some blood work done and show people just kind of the whole thing. But I wonder if there'd be some room in there to like spend a reasonable amount of money, you know, have a certain amount of money associated with every day, you know, like, but I don't know what the average person spends. You know, I don't know if it's $10 or if it's $20 or I don't know. I don't know what it looks like, but I think whatever the number is, I think that people have irrational thought toward how much money they actually spend every day.
Yeah.
You roll through a Starbucks and you're already at like $4 or $5. A lot of times people that aren't on a nutrition plan, they buy, I mean, Starbucks's average customer is more like in the $12 or $13 range.
They get the breakfast.
That means you're buying something more than just a coffee, probably, right? And so it would be an interesting thing to figure out. Maybe it's something I'll put to it, because then it will keep me from, it will kind of make me eat less often. So maybe I'll give it a shot. But these guys eating 5 times a week sounds like they might spend like maybe $8 or $10 per meal or something like that.
Yeah.
Which that doesn't sound like all that much money at the end of the week. Anyway, I do hope people that are listening to this, that I hope that you guys, you're going to hear me promoting the hell out of it. World Carnivore Month is January. This will be year number 3 for me. The first year was the hardest. That was the most difficult. I went 14 days as full carnivore as I could, and then it kind of made me a little crazy, just because I was probably fasting too much. And then through the second half of it, I ate more and I felt fine. I kind of went off the diet once or twice during that period. And then last year, I was able to adhere to it really well, and that felt great. And this year I'm going to try to do the same thing. So it's just basically just eating meat, and you know, you got steaks and hamburgers and chicken and any sort of meat that you want, whether it's game meat or any of that kind of stuff would be okay. And then like some butter, bone broth, and probably some cheese, just because that makes the eating at like In-N-Out a little easier and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that'll pretty much be it.
Their whole, I know we're about to finish, but the what you just said there in terms of like the first year is difficult, the second year is a little bit easier. I'm anticipating probably the 30 days this year for you is going to be a breeze. But they were talking about their progression through that, losing all of that weight, and that was the thing. Like they lost weight before, and it wasn't super smooth. It's not like they had everything on track, but they just kept making little adaptations. They just kept making little adjustments, and now it's just their life, you know?
Yeah, they mentioned having the diet sodas in there, and a couple of things like that were in there, and they just eventually pulled it all away. But it took time.
Yep.
Took a long ass time. How's shredded getting going, bud?
It's the getting is good.
Good.
It's going really well. I've been sending Nsima, whether it be a like a bathroom selfie with my weight.
Oh yeah,
I know,
see that
right?
dick root.
So it's going really well. I can't thank you guys enough for all the help, but I'll do my absolute best. We have a photo shoot scheduled for Monday. We have to figure out exact times, but I'm pretty nervous about that too. Like, I'm never in front of the camera when it comes to photos, so we'll see how that goes. I'm 22 pounds down, and I remember, I think it was like after the second or third week, I had told Mark, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm pretty pumped. Like, I already lost 12 pounds. And, you know, he was like real supportive. He's like, dude, that's sick. Like, you're doing so good. It's going to take about 22 or 24 pounds though. And I was like, whoa. And he's like, that sounds crazy. I know, but like, it's possible. I'm like, what? Like 24 pounds does sound pretty crazy. I'm like, but going from 190 something to 160 something, like, that sounds crazy. Obviously, if I had a different goal, or if we had set different, time parameters on it, we would do it a little bit different. But we're going pretty crazy with this one, and it's been fun, man. I'm fasting every day. That's gotten, what you were saying about like it building discipline. It absolutely has. Tracking everything. I know you don't really promote tracking and stuff, but man, it's been such a huge help for me. Like, I've tracked in the past, but it's been like kind of like, okay, that's pretty good for the day. And now tracking literally everything, because I'm like, shit, I can't go over on my carbs because we're almost there. I can't go over on my fat, but I need to get that fat in. And yeah, I wasn't eating enough fat, and now that I am, like, I feel so much better. Step meal this morning was pretty crazy. I went pretty nuts on it, but I'm amped up, man. I'm getting there.
Tracking just gives you more accuracy, and it allows you to have information each day on what it is that you're eating. And then it also makes it a lot easier for a coach to interact with you and say, oh man, like, you're looking a little flatter than I thought. I thought this amount of carbs would be enough. And then he could say, okay, well, we need to add some back in. So it leaves you a paper trail, and then it allows the coach to go in. Otherwise, coach would be like, that's weird. I don't know why you're looking that way. You should be like, and then they'll say, well, what did you eat? And you're like, well, I don't really remember. And it's like, well, now we don't have any, we don't have enough information to really, trigger you to go one way or the other.
Yeah. And we talk about how important sleep is on this podcast so much. And I know how important it is. Like, I know that taking a picture every single day and seeing how little sleep I got and what that does to my body, like, I can see it. Yesterday, I didn't get sleep. I looked okay. Like, progress is still happening, but like, it was fine. Got really good sleep. Oh my gosh. Like, I look total, like, it looks like it was like a couple weeks, and it was just 24 hours.
Yeah.
And so understanding that aspect also, and that's something that I wouldn't be able to see unless I did shred this much. So that's been another eye opener. It's like, I knew how important it was. Now I'm just like, oh, it's more important than I even thought.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy when you see those pictures back to back. Like, you can tell, like, it looks like you were 5 pounds heavier, even though you were close to the same weight.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, man.
Awesome having those guys on the show today. That was super cool. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Where can people find Andrew?
At I am Andrew Z on Instagram, and I have actually some more places where you guys can find the podcast. So I don't know. Can we get an air horn ready? So we're on Twitter now at MB Power Project and LinkedIn. I've been listening to Gary Vee talk about LinkedIn way too much for us not to be on there. So that's linkedin.com/in/power project. That's where we're going to have a lot of fun. And I mean, who knows? The possibilities are endless.
We should be on TikTok.
And we will eventually be on TikTok once I figure out how to do that shit. But
Andrew, you didn't care about all the extra fees and stuff to be on LinkedIn. You just
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're
it.
gonna take over the whole podcast universe, and no expense. It doesn't matter. Money's no object when it comes to this right now.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Going straight to the top.
Yep. And Nsima, where you at, dude?
At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube.
Attaboy.
Sick shirt, bro.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Same to you. I think it's me. That's me. That's throwing the meat. You know what's funny? It's actually you. But my girlfriend, I was wearing it. She's like, "Oh, is that you?" I'm like, "No. I mean, I'm bald, but that's not me. That's Mark."
Your shoulders are wider.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to make the emoji guy there a little bit more jacked.
A little bit darker too.
That's true. Yeah, give him a little bit of sun.
Yeah. Mark, how's the new YouTube channel going?
It's going great, man. Yeah, getting a lot of good feedback. I did a video the other day talking about my bro and his death and stuff like that, and there was just crazy responses on there. People, I don't expect people to like air out their grievances and stuff, but that's really what people did on there. It was pretty wild to see, but hopefully that helps, and then hopefully some of the other stuff I'm pumping out, talking a lot about keto, a lot about intermittent fasting, and really just a lot of the stuff that I'm passionate about and excited about is really just what this podcast today was all about. It's all the stuff that I'm trying to help people figure it out. I'm trying to come up with a formula that can help fight obesity. Basically, I think there's one out there, but it's hard. Am I going to be able to get every single person that I come in contact with to do it? I don't know, but I'm going to try. I'm going to really try, because I do think that there's some simple things people can implement into their lives to help make a lot of progress. And I know that by making that progress, that they'll feel better, and that a lot of their, not just feel better necessarily like from a health perspective, but they'll just feel better about themselves because they'll feel more accomplished. And I think that can, cause a cascade of things to happen in their life that they just feel better about in general, whether it's their relationships, their work, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, having a new podcast, having a new YouTube channel has been cool.
That's cool, man. So if anybody maybe got this podcast sent to them, just one way to thank us if you found any value is just subscribe to this podcast. We do this stuff all the time. Essentially, this is like the mothership. A lot of the stuff that we do on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, it starts here. So if you want to get a leg up on literally everybody else, just hit a subscribe, give us a rating on iTunes. We sincerely appreciate that, and we appreciate all of you for listening.
At Mark Smellybell on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch y'all later.